Okay, well, hi everybody. I'm Lisa Griggs. I'm so excited to do this today. I'm trying to take very deep breaths right now. And as you know, we have the F.E.E.D going on and also Faces of Epilepsy. We started this amazing organization last year in hopes to get answers around all things epilepsy, anything neurologically related. And, there's so many things that kind of fall into that category: autism, ALS, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, dementia, and even MS. So today I have the absolute privilege to introduce to you Dr. Jimmy Gutman. I'm so excited you're here, sir.
My pleasure, and thank you for inviting me to your podcast, Lisa.
Yeah, this is going to be great because I have watched over 20 of your videos at least, and I am totally blown away by the power of glutathione in just the world. And I am very new to this space. I have heard of glutathione before. I've heard of oxidative stress and I've heard of free radicals and different things like that. And obviously, losing my son to sudden death and epilepsy about a year and a half ago, I went on a big quest, doctor, just to kind of find out, if I could have done some things different. And if I also could have helped families that are going through similar grieving processes and also that have children, young people that have epilepsy and have very rare forms of epilepsy where, they're medication resistant. And, so this has been a real quest. And so I'm very new to this. But what I want to do before we get in is because you're basically your CV is as long as the Dead Sea Scrolls, okay? Which is huge. So I'm going to try to encapsulate this, okay? So you have actually written some bestsellers on glutathione, all things glutathione. There's one called The Comprehensive Guide to Glutathione, also Glutathione, Your Key to, I believe, Healthy Living. You also have dedicated the majority of your career, and I did watch that video on how you actually, came into this space. I really love and admire the relationship that you had with Dr. Bessos, I believe his name is.
Who knows?
Um, Brunos, yes, Brunos. And that was an amazing story how, he ended up in your house and, you got to know him. And that was just incredible to hear all about that. But, you've been advocating for cellular health. You've done all kinds of studies at University of Chicago, University of Calgary. You did your residency training at Mayo Clinic. You have a PhD in immunology from Stanford University. So you are a very smart cookie. And you also serve as the senior medical advisor and chairman of the scientific advisory board of Immunotech, which you're going to be discussing today. And so we are going to get into all things glutathione today. And I know you can encapsulate this because I have watched so many of your videos and I've watched videos on cancer. I've watched videos on women's health that you've done. I watch videos on what got you into this space. So maybe you could just start right at the beginning. What has you so excited about glutathione that caused you to really put your life existence and passion into really getting this knowledge out in front of everybody and as many people as you could for so many years?
I started off my medical career pretty much in a very conservative way. Like many doctors, I chose a specialty. In my case, I pursued emergency medicine, which was very exciting, very demanding. Um, but something happened to me, and I'm sure the same thing happened to many of your listeners. I turned 40, and at 40 years old, emergency medicine is kind of like professional sports. When you're 40, start looking for something else to do because the hours and the shift work and the stress just gets to be a little much. So I went into family practice, and I went from an environment where it just seemed to be so chaotic and unpredictable to being locked in a room with another patient who had the audacity of asking me questions. And they were asking me questions like, Dr. Gutman, how much exercise should I get and what kind of exercise? What kind of supplements should I take? And could you tell me what the best diet is? And my answer to them was a shrug of my shoulders. And so let me tell you a secret about doctors. Well, one thing that doctors hate almost as much as anything is feeling stupid. And how many
Mm,
times can you shrug your shoulders before your ego starts to take a beating? See, because when I went through medical school and my residency, in medical school, I had maybe 2 afternoons on nutrition. So we were going back quite a few years. Fortunately, things have been changing recently. But so I had to take it upon myself to learn about nutrition, to learn about supplementation,
mm,
to learn about exercise, this was all new to me. So I started looking at supplements, and um, there were some really interesting things, but I have to tell you, most uh, nutritional products and supplements just didn't have the amount of scientific background that made me comfortable enough to recommend it to my patients. And I think that what needed to be done was really taking these supplements to putting them to a real test. One day I'm in my office and in bursts one of my patients, a patient by the name of Howdy. And Howdy's eyes were all bugged out and he's sweating. And he says, Dr. Gutman, I've come across this product that can slow down the aging process. It's good against cancer. It's good against Parkinson's. It's good against Alzheimer's. It's good against heart disease. And I said, whoa, Howdy. And in certain circles, whoa, Howdy is a kind of a funny line. I love telling this story in Texas. And whoa, Howdy. How can one supplement possibly do all these things? It sounds like you're reading off of a can of snake oil. And Howdy's answer to me was a big thud on my desk. And that thud wasn't his big fist. You see, Howdy was an ex Golden Gloves boxing champion. The thud was about 20 pounds of research articles landing
mm,
on my desk. And he said, Jimmy, you're going to go home and you're going to read these. Now, most of my patients don't talk to me that way, but if you're an ex Golden Glove boxing champion, I guess you get away with this stuff. So, and being a little bit afraid of Howdy, I did. I took this big pile of research articles and I took it home. And what Howdy managed to do was absolutely ruin the next 3 months of my life because I couldn't stop myself from reading those articles and canceling clinics and going down to the McGill University Library. And back then we didn't have the internet, and just spending all my time reading about something that was both exciting and embarrassing. It was
mm,
uh, embarrassing because I'd never heard of it before, and it was exciting because
mhm,
it showed
mhm.
such promise. And those articles were about glutathione, this
Wow.
little molecule that appears naturally in your body called glutathione. And finally got back to Howdy because one of the main authors of these articles was of Dr. Gustavo Bunos. And Dr. Bunos, as luck would have it, had moved to Montreal, where I was living, and literally lived a number of blocks away from me. And I said, Howdy, get me together with Dr. Bunos. I really want to talk to him. And so I spent 2 hours with Dr. Bunos. And
Wow.
it was so incredible. It was so revealing. It was so new. It was so fresh and exciting that I decided there and then that I was going to pursue the science of glutathione. And I changed my career yet again. And I started working with Dr. Bunos, and this was over 30 years ago. And I have not regretted a single day since then. This field of glutathione was just just too important for me to let go. And it becomes more and more relevant. And now, as opposed to 30 years ago when nobody's heard of glutathione, everybody seems to be
Mhm.
talking about glutathione.
Yeah, it's really like trending right now. And, it's hard to kind of cut through a lot of the noise, doctor, with regard to glutathione. You've got people, trying to encourage us to shoot ourselves up with peptides. We've got, people saying that you can. I heard this one recently, which I listened to one of your videos, and you absolutely said this isn't possible, but somebody saying, well, you can get glutathione in chicken breast. And that may be true, but I heard a video where you were like, maybe kind of explain that, because how do you cut through the noise of like what actually works and what doesn't, and what is precursors and cysteine, and why is glutathione so important? Maybe we could just start there. Why is this
Sure.
so important? Because you have the ability, I want to say this to you, you're so genuine and so sincere, just in your messaging. You can really tell that this really, really is so close to your heart. And I'm sure you have seen countless people's lives transformed as a result of your work. So give it to us. What is glutathione?
Sure. Well, I think a good place to start would be answering the question, what is glutathione? And glutathione is a natural molecule. It's what we call a tripeptide made up of 3 amino acids that occurs in each and every single cell of your body. And not only your body, Lisa, but in all animals, in fish, in birds, in insects, in plants, glutathione is critical to any living creature. So, what does glutathione do? Well, if we had more time, we could talk about 50 or 60 different things that it does inside of the cell. But I like to simplify things for people. And if you can remember four things that glutathione does, these four things will encapsulate 90% of what glutathione does. So remember the word idea.
Yes.
Glutathione, what a great idea. What does IDEA stand for? The I stands for the immune system. The D stands for detoxification. The E stands for energy, and A stands for antioxidant. Now let's look at these in turn. If we look at the I for the immune system, think of glutathione literally as food for your immune system.
Mm,
People who are low in glutathione are, by definition, immunocompromised. When we
mhm,
started, when we had uh, started looking at AIDS at McGill University in the 1980s, and we had found that AIDS patients,
mhm.
by definition, were glutathione deficient. And of course, we wanted to do something about it. And um, we used Dr. Bunos's research. He developed the natural product that raises glutathione, a product that was eventually called Immunocal. We put AIDS patients on Immunocal who weighed 70 and 80 pounds, and we got them back to work in certain cases. But if you look at any major infectious disease, whether it's AIDS or hepatitis, we've done studies in hepatitis A, hepatitis B, hepatitis C. If you look at the flu, if you have a major infection, it taps into your glutathione supply. So you
Wow.
start losing glutathione.
Yeah.
So if you can recover glutathione or establish good glutathione levels, you can optimize your immune defense. So that's I for the immune system, glutathione, food for the immune system. D stands for detoxification. What does glutathione detoxify? I think an easier question would be, what does glutathione not detoxify? Uh,
Right.
Glutathione is responsible for the detoxification of cigarette smoke and automobile exhaust
Wow.
and pesticides and herbicides and heavy metals like mercury and lead and cadmium and on and on and on. And given the amount of pollutants that are in the air that we breathe, the water that we drink, and the food that we eat, without glutathione, we would succumb to our environment literally
Mm.
in hours. So I tell people that next to water, there probably
Hmm.
isn't a more important detoxification substance in your body. Uh,
Gosh, that is just so amazing. My goodness. I love that acronym idea. I think that is just so, so awesome. So, how do you go from, I mean, how do you know that you're like when I explain, well, you could just eat it, and you can get it in chicken breast, okay? And you can just eat yourself, to having enough glutathione in your body. And how do we know we're deficient in it? I mean, obviously, you're talking about there's people with diseases that are deficient, don't have probably enough glutathione in their body. How do you kind of cut through all that and find out if you even need it?
well, the the answer lies in research. I mean, there you could find so much on the internet and so many beautifully done stories and animations
Mhm.
and testimonies but you need to go to basic research. For people that are interested, who are listening to this podcast,
Mhm.
um, there's a website called PubMed.gov,
Mhm.
and it is really the major source of original scientific and medical articles. So if you want to see an original article, you go to PubMed. Researchers are on PubMed every day. Doctors are on PubMed
Mhm.
all too often. So you need to look these things up. For example, if you looked up glutathione on PubMed,
Mhm.
you'd find over 200,000 articles. Now, what does that mean? Let me put that into context. If you went to PubMed and you looked up vitamin E, you'd find maybe 70,000 articles. Vitamin C, maybe 30,000 articles. So there are more articles, more medical articles written on glutathione than vitamin C and vitamin E put together. So this is where you find out what works and what doesn't work. And the big myth, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to straighten this out. And you'll find hundreds of companies that are selling glutathione, either in a pill or in
Mhm.
a powder. You can't raise your body's glutathione level by eating glutathione. Glutathione rapidly gets broken down in your digestive tree. Um, and very little of it, if any, make it to your cells. Eating glutathione is a waste of time and a waste of money. Now, yeah, there may be a couple articles that show that eating glutathione works, but I mean, if I had the time, I would go through them, and they're not good articles at all. Um, So what doctors have recognized that works to raise glutathione. You see, glutathione is made by your cells. So the way to
Okay.
raise glutathione levels in your body is to give your cells the building blocks or specific nutrients so your cells can make its own glutathione. And these are what we call precursors. These are the building
Okay.
blocks for your body to make glutathione precursors. And there are two books, one in the United States called the PDR, Physician's
Hmm.
Desk Reference, and in Canada called the CPS, the Compendium of Pharmaceutical Specialties. This book sits on the desk of every single doctor and every single pharmacist in North America. And what the book contains are all the things that I can recommend to a patient, all the prescriptions that I can write. And there's only two things that are recognized as glutathione precursors. One, something called NAC, N-acetylcysteine, which is a life-saving drug. I used to use NAC in the emergency room to save the lives of people who come in with intentional overdoses, like an acetaminophen overdose.
Wow.
But NAC, like most other drugs, carries a spectrum of side effects, mostly gastrointestinal, nausea and vomiting and cramps. And it also has what we call a short half-life, which means that
Hmm.
if you take NAC, it will last 3 or 4 hours. So if you want to keep glutathione levels up consistently throughout the day, you need to take it 3 or 4 times a day. And if you felt sick the first time you took it, you'll feel four
Hmm.
times as sick the fourth time you take it. And the other thing besides NAC that appears in these books is Immunocal, which, by the way, is not a pharmaceutical drug. It's a natural product, but it has so there you go. There's a pouch of Immunical. Fantastic.
There is one. And here's
Yeah.
another one, doctor. So we'll know to be able to tell the difference. But yes,
Yes. Yes.
amazing.
Yes. And the Immunical product is a result of by now 45 years of research and development. And unlike most natural products, which has very little human research to back them up, we have over 100 available articles written on Immunical in the medical literature. Like 100. Most natural
Crazy.
products, if they have 2 or 3 human studies, that's all that they talk about. We have over 100. So Immunical is a glutathione precursor, and it is um, so safe. Um, uh,
Mhm.
we've even given it to babies. In fact, because we've been around for 30 years as a commercial product, there are what we call immunobabies. They started taking
Wow.
Immunical when they were infants, and now they're 30 years old.
Actually listening to one of your videos where you were talking on the one on women's health, and you were
Yeah.
saying that glutathione levels, increase. You were talking about infertility and how
Yes.
when you increase glutathione in the body, you can become more fertile as a woman. I believe you were talking about that. You were talking about menopause. You were talking about
Yeah.
fibroids, in the ovaries, different things like that. There's a
Yes.
lot of information and things you were talking about with regard to women's health. So that's very real.
Well, for sure. I guess we're going to take advantage of that and plug my last book um, on glutathione. The reason that I'm proud of the book is it's got like 30 or 40 chapters, each chapter on a different disease process.
Mhm.
Now, when most doctors pick up my book and they start to read it, they don't really pay attention to the words that I wrote because that's only
Mhm.
my opinion. What they care about is what's at the back of each chapter. And the back of each chapter has hundreds of medical references to the original literature.
Mm-hmm.
So I literally went through over 10,000 articles on glutathione to put this book together. So really, it's not a book by me. It's a book about glutathione according to the medical literature. And so you can put a lot of faith in it. It's a little bit boring to read, I have to admit, but it serves as a reference book. And for the people that are in the world of glutathione, somebody used the term the Bible of glutathione. I don't really like that term because it's a little disrespectful, but it just kind of gives you an idea of the importance of this book in the world of glutathione.
Yeah, because it's almost like when you start listening to all these testimonies and all the research that has been put into this, you do kind of feel like sort of like, gosh, what kind of claims can we make with this product?
Yeah,
Because I'm just gonna, can I, real quick, I just want to
sure.
share with you, doctor, my personal experience, okay, of taking this
Great.
product. I want to let you know what happened to me, okay? I started taking this product just a couple weeks ago, okay? Maybe 14 days or roughly that I've been taking it. It's the first product that I've ever taken that I'm actually excited to take when I wake up in the morning. Like, I can't wait to actually go and get it out and, mix it with my water and just shake it up and take it. It's like the first thing I do, right? When I get up, I take, my Immunocal. I noticed right away, and maybe you could speak into this, that my energy increased, but was very consistent throughout the day. So I didn't have like an energy where it surged up and then I crashed. It seemed very steady. And then the other thing that I've noticed is my eyesight has actually improved, which I did not think that was going to happen so quickly. And I actually was like looking around, like, is it possible? Like, I'm like, um, looking all over the internet, like, does this product actually like make your eyesight better? Because my eyesight, my readers, I was able to actually go down a level in my readers just in less than 2 weeks. Like, this was
Wow.
happening so fast. And the other thing that I noticed is my skin. My I'm over 50, I'm 53, and I've noticed that people have even commented about my skin. They say, Lisa, your skin, the integrity, of your skin, it's almost like it's tightening it, and the wrinkles are almost like going away. I'm like, what is going on with my body? And I have, obviously shared this with other people, and they've had very similar experiences, if you can believe
Yeah.
it, doctor.
Yeah.
Is this
Well,
like miraculous or what?
the increase in energy is something that a lot of people report on when they first
Mm-hmm.
start taking it. Remember the idea? Well, the E
Yes.
stands for energy. And
Mm-hmm.
one of the contributing ways that glutathione gives you energy, it's a little technical, but our cells have these little structures in them called mitochondria. And these
Mm-hmm.
little mitochondria, think of them as like little batteries that give your cells energy. Now, these mitochondria, they burn up fuel in the form of glucose and other things and oxygen, and they develop a lot of free radicals. And they actually
Mm-hmm.
heat up, actually burn up.
Um,
Yeah. The the substance that quenches the free radicals in the mitochondria is glutathione. Without a steady supply of glutathione, these mitochondria would literally burn up. So, in order to maintain energy, our mitochondria absolutely require a constant flow of glutathione. And so you're in your early 50s and you felt that,
Mhm.
but we've done studies on athletes. I mean, where we
Mhm.
have
Mhm.
been able to show an increase in strength and endurance, and a lot of it has to do with mitochondrial health. When I watched the last Olympics, I've been watching the TV, and I was going, oh, he's on Immunocal, and she's on Immunocal, he's on Immunocal, because we have dozens of Olympic athletes on the Canadian Olympic team, the American Olympic team, the Mexican Olympic team, the British Olympic team, all on Immunocal for that particular reason. It gives you strength and it gives you energy.
Mhm.
Oh,
Yeah, that's so awesome.
yeah.
You, is that this one? I just want to, make sure I know this is I took this one today. I just wanted to see the difference. There's a little bit of difference of a taste. There's more vitamins in this one than the
No, there's
regular Immunocal.
no the platinum Immunocal and in that nice
Right.
platinum colored envelope has a couple different ingredients in there. One of them is called CMP, which stands for cytokine modulating peptides. And what is a cytokine? A cytokine is something that is involved in the immune system that can cause inflammation. So
Mm.
cytokines are inflammatory agents, and the CMP depresses these inflammatory agents. So the CMP can be viewed as an anti-inflammatory. So this is important for anybody with an
Mm.
inflammatory disease. When we talk about inflammation, we're not just talking about arthritis. Diabetes is inflammatory. Heart disease is inflammatory. Neurodegeneration is
Mhm.
inflammatory. So this is particularly important for baby boomers. Are
Mhm.
you a baby boomer? Are you still considered a baby? Or are you too young to be a baby boomer?
Too young to
Oh,
be a baby boomer.
okay, okay, okay. Well, I'm
But that's okay because
definitely
all my best friends are baby boomers.
okay. Well, I'm sorry to tell you, but I'm also glad to tell you that one day you will become a baby boomer. So
Yes.
yeah, so this platinum product is important for you. The other thing that's in the platinum product is something called RMF, redox modifying factors. And that's a big word that
Hmm.
talks about acid and base. So you have either an acidic environment or you have an alkaline environment. And the
Oh,
acidic
yes. Yeah.
environment is associated with a lot of illnesses and
Hmm. Hmm.
also results from a lot of illnesses.
Hmm.
Um, so you want to become more of an alkaline environment type of
Hmm.
person, and the RMF makes you more alkaline. It raises your pH, so it keeps it mostly at a neutral level. So the importance of acidity and alkalinity is very important in health, and maybe another time we'll have a chance to talk more about that. But so you have the RMF and you have the CMP added to the Immunocal, so it is a little bit more far reaching. Most people are going to do fine with regular Immunocal, but you have a little bit
Right.
more. Yeah, yeah.
A little bit more info. Okay. And I wanted to ask you just because you were mentioning, different research and studies and all these different athletes recently, because this does have to do with neurological. You received some intellectual property with regard to this traumatic brain injury. I think that's huge because I hope it's okay to ask you about it. The reason I'm asking is because my son was diagnosed with epilepsy when he was 14. Now, some people have epilepsy because it's hereditary. My son, it was not hereditary. I believe that it was because of a traumatic, injury to the head,
Very common.
a concussion when he was younger. And I've interviewed different epileptics that have had brain tumors, had them removed, put a stop to their seizures, or I've interviewed epileptics that have had they've had injuries, head injuries, especially men. It's very common with men. They fall off ladders. They get, football, whatever it is, sports, contact sports. Can you talk to us about this intellectual property? I think it's exciting, actually. And I hope it's
Okay.
okay to ask you about it, Doctor.
So the question is a little premature because we haven't gotten all of the papers, but I will say that we were granted this patent. In the last few years, um, our three most recent patents are a patent for the treatment of autism.
Huge. That's huge.
Um, yeah, for the treatment and prophylaxis of cerebral trauma. So this is where you're talking about brain trauma and concussions um, and there's one other that's just around the corner that's just as important as the first two is one for the treatment of neuropsychiatric and neurodegenerative diseases.
That's
Can you
huge.
imagine that? Now, here we are, we have a bit of a quandary. We have this product called Immunocal, which is a natural product, defined as a natural product. And in the United States and in Canada, you cannot make medical claims about a natural
Mhm.
product.
Yeah.
So, okay, we can't make claims about it. We happen to have patents on it. My God, we have a patent for the treatment of cancer. We have a patent for the treatment of AIDS. And these are things that we can't use in our marketing material. But I guess for you to ask me about it in a podcast is okay. But I will ask anybody that if they ever become part of an Immunotech team, that marketing these medical claims is kind of a no-no. Um, we have to be more discreet about it. But yes, those are two hot off the press patents.
Huge. It's
Yeah.
just so huge, because I'll tell you, doctor, when I started interviewing a lot of epileptics and parents and just trying to make sense of so much, it actually grieves me in my spirit when I think about the disparity in funding for research. And Alzheimer's and dementia is not that much larger of a group comparable to epileptics. There's over 50 million epileptics worldwide. And yet, epilepsy, as far as research funding, only gets a little over $200 million a year. That's just in the US. And then dementia and Alzheimer's gets almost $4 billion a year.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I just feel like there's something here that is an approach that people need to know. They need to have this information
Yeah.
because it
Yeah.
certainly can be helpful, and they need to do their own research. They need to go on their own quest, um, on how to ask their doctors the right questions. If you being a doctor and me being a patient or being a parent of an epileptic, um, what are some questions, that you think might be beneficial to ask when you're going down this path of wanting to even get the right information, in this space?
Well, we have some tools at our disposal that we didn't have a number of years ago. One is access to good medically approved websites like PubMed. Now, they tend to be a little
Mm-hmm.
bit technical, but anybody can go on PubMed and enter search terms like glutathione and seizures. And we also have something that absolutely blows my mind as a 71-year-old. It's just magic to me, and that is artificial intelligence. And
Mm-hmm.
everybody has access to chat, and everybody has access to Claude. And if you ask, like Claude is a program
Mm-hmm.
I've gotten used to, the appropriate questions, you will get back good answers. Of course, you have to verify the answers because there's
Mm-hmm.
hallucinations that sometimes these AI programs have. I challenge the listeners to this podcast to go to Claude and ask them, please show me some published research on
That's good.
glutathione and seizures. And they will give you articles off of PubMed and other verifiable medical sites. They will give the original research. And get this, Lisa,
Mm-hmm.
epileptics and people who suffer from seizures almost universally have a glutathione deficiency.
It's true.
So this means a number of things. Number one, being glutathione deficient also makes you more susceptible to all the diseases that we've spoken about.
Mm-hmm.
The major causes of morbidity and mortality in the Western world: heart disease and diabetes and
Mm-hmm.
neurodegeneration and lung disease. You're more susceptible to coming down with one of these if you are low in glutathione. So
Uh,
why are seizure patients low in glutathione? Now, I wouldn't have been able to answer this question accurately 10 or 15 years ago. Was it
mm-hmm.
a cause of seizures, or was it a result of seizures?
Mm-hmm.
The research has shown us that it's both. People with low glutathione levels are more prone to having seizures. And in fact, the lower the glutathione levels, the more frequent the seizures and the more severe the seizures. And also, having a seizure releases a ton of
Yeah.
free radical damage.
Mm-hmm.
So after
Mm-hmm.
you've had a seizure, you're absolutely dry
Yeah.
of glutathione. So it needs to be replaced. But wait, it gets worse. It gets worse. Most anti-seizure medication, which many of your listeners must take,
Mm-hmm.
most of these anti-seizure medications lowers glutathione levels.
Mm. Wow.
So on one hand, yes, you're preventing the seizures. On the other hand, you're lowering glutathione and making you more predisposed to seizures. So
Unbelievable.
glutathione repletion is
Mm-hmm.
critical in these patients. And don't believe me. Don't believe me.
Mm-hmm.
You ask, like, what can I ask my doctor? I doubt
Yeah.
your doctor even has these answers. He's going to say, well, I don't know. He'll
Yeah.
look it up. If he's good, he'll look
Yeah.
it up, or she'll
Yeah.
look it up. But
Right.
go ahead and do the search yourself. And don't look at
Mm-hmm.
marketing websites. Don't look at companies that are
Mm-hmm.
selling you stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Go straight to the medical literature, and you will find out these three things. Low glutathione causes seizures. Seizures cause low glutathione, and
Mm-hmm.
anti-seizure medications lower glutathione. So that's that three strikes. That's three strikes, and you need to do something about it. And raising your glutathione levels is going to be key for you.
Well, you know what, Dr. Gutman, I am so excited right now because I have watched all your videos pretty much, and you didn't have one on
No,
epilepsy and neurological disorders.
no,
So now
yeah,
you
yeah.
do. And
Now,
I'm so grateful for that. I'm so grateful that you were just able, you're so brilliant, that you're able to just give us such valuable information, especially for those that are suffering, really suffering, and don't have a lot of answers in this space. Their neurologist doesn't have all the answers. And then you've got ophthalmologists, and they're supposedly supposed to be specialists in epilepsy. And, there's just, again, a lot of noise. We're all trying to figure it out as a family and a community. And you have been such a blessing to us today, just to even give us just so much value today. And I got so excited when you said we have to have another conversation at another time so that maybe we can, talk about more things, at another time.
sure,
But because
sure,
you've just been
sure.
so amazing, and I know we could just go on and on and on and on, but that was loaded. That was
Thank
definitely
you.
loaded.
You're
And
you're too kind. You're too kind. It's absolutely my pleasure. I know that you're out there doing great things as well and helping people. So
aw,
it's absolutely nothing for me to feel that I'm giving you a hand. So my pleasure, and you've been a great host.
aw,
And
thank you. We're trying. We're trying. So one last thing. If there's anything else that you want to say with regard to brain health, is there anything that we've left out? Any one last message about brain health? Anything at all that you want to say? Please, please give it to us.
yeah, yeah. Well, there's a whole section in my book on brain health. And it talks about everything from, and interesting, you mentioned at the beginning of the evening, the multiple sclerosis, Alzheimer's,
Yeah,
Parkinson's,
yeah,
all these
hmm,
neurodegenerative diseases, the
yeah,
autism, all these neurodegenerative
hmm,
diseases seem to have one thing in common, and that is oxidative stress and free radical formation.
hmm.
So there's a common theme, and the common theme is fight free radicals. And the best way to do that, if you're going to be using supplements, is use something to raise glutathione levels.
Love it. There you go. Right there from the famous doctor. Gosh, it's been such an honor, sir, to be with you tonight. I just feel
Yeah,
so, so blessed. Glutathione, Immunocal precursor. Make sure that you get it. Take it. It really is an incredible product. I've enjoyed being on it, and just wish I would have known about it sooner. But you know what? We can do something about that now. So thank you so much again, Dr. Gutman, for being
my
with us.
pleasure.
And I can't wait to have you back.
Okay,
God bless everybody.
thank you. Bye bye.